take it?
Yeah.
So this is the dinner, and so I'm sure you've seen pictures of Brother Branham's dinner before. Those pictures of Brother Branham's dinner in Jeffersonville, and so his dinner in Jeffersonville had a lot of these same things in it, but it was a small, kind of tight bedroom-sized room, and so there's several series of pictures there of him at different times in his dinner there. I'll go around and explain all these things here, and then if anybody's got any big questions, you let me know, and I'll try to fill in the blanks for you. This area over here was to be his study, his office, as it were. It was never really completed. At the time of the accident, there was actually just nothing here at the wall. Yeah, the stuff was in boxes and whatnot. The desk and chair put in later. Brother Billy Paul has a home right next to our home here. He used to use this as his study. The paintings there, both the original of those paintings, the painting in the cabinet there, you've probably seen it before. That's the original of those paintings. That was painted from 78 or 79 or something. These are, I'll get right to this way. These are our mule deer from Colorado, these 3 bucks here. And mule deer were kind of the primary thing that primary big game animal that he hunted. Because you could go every year, and he would go there on the Troublesome River there in Colorado, where he used to cowboy as a young man. Anyhow, these are 3 of many. And so the buck on the right here is the buck he called Big Jim. This is the buck he hunted for so long in Colorado and finally killed when the storm come down in Colorado. He spoke to the storm baited. This is the deer. So,
He mentions that on tape,
many
doesn't
places,
he?
yeah. So the pheasant here is from Iowa. Brother Branham bought it, already mounted. There with Brother Gene Norman when he preached a series of meetings there in Waterloo, Iowa, where he told Brother Gene Norman to sell his things and move. It was the same trip he bought that. Above the door here, these are javelina. This is what Brother Branham was hunting out at Sunset Mountain. If you're not from here, I don't know if he's from here or not, but they're indigenous to our area, and he's fond of hunting them. We hunt them in February, March there, and these are 3 different ones that he killed there out at Sunset. The fish there are rainbow trout from the Salmon River in Idaho. The one on the top is the world record that Brother Branham caught in 1956.
Well, that's a good one. Wow.
And he caught it on an elk hunting trip there on the salmon. And so he talks about it briefly there a time or two. But just kind of indirectly talks about it when he talks about Marilyn Monroe and the circumstances surrounding her death and what things know. But that's the fish. That's another mule deer buck there. That white animal with the black horns there, that's a Rocky Mountain goat that Brother Branham killed in the fall of 1950 there in the gas yards in British Columbia. And that was his first kind of far off hunting trip ever. In the corner, that's a stone sheep. That's one of the 4 varieties of wild sheep in North America, and the only one he ever killed. The antelope there is from Wyoming. And then the big fellow here, this is the caribou that Brother Branham shot in British Columbia there with Brother Bud. And so this is a mountain caribou. There's 4 or 5 different varieties of caribou in the deer family. They grow and shed their antlers every year. You know all about that. This is the bull that he had the vision of, that he tells the vision there at the tabernacle beforehand, how it's all going to go down, and talks about the different, series of events, that happens there. When he tells it in kind of, we'll say, scenes. There's a scene there when he's hunting, he sees himself hunting, sees this thing at long range, gets over to it, kills it. They get a grizzly bear before they get back to where they tied their horses up. There's a man there wearing a green checkered shirt. There's a boy there holding a tape measure as they measure the horns. There's all these things that have to happen. When he actually killed the bull, it was just him and the guy, Brother Bud Sopwick. He's about 35-year-old man at the time. Anyways, They killed the bull. They didn't have no tape measure. And Brother Branham says, oh, this is the one. And he says, no, it's way bigger than that. He says, no, it's 42 inches exactly. Okay, whatever. They dress it and are retrieving it back to the horses. Sure as anything, before they get to the horses, there's a grizzly bear. Brother Branham kills it. As they get everything back to camp the next day, they produce a tape measure and they go to measure it. That measurement that he's talking about is the length of the main beam or the trunk of the antler. And when you measure that, you start down here at the eye socket, closest to the eye socket. This is called the pedicle. You start here and you go along this curve all the way to that point. And so you use a 1/4 inch steel tape measure when you do that. And because the horn is curved, crooked, bent, whatever, you have to kind of do this number as you go. And it's easier with two people. And so they produce a tape measure, and Bud, the guide, goes to measure it, and it gets about halfway, slips, and he does again, slips. And about that time, his 17-year-old boy, Blaine, comes walking by and says, here, help Dad. And he holds the tape measure, and there's the boy's hands holding the tape measure as it comes to the end, 42 inches. He says, there it is. He turns and looks, and there's Brother Biscoe wearing the green checkered shirt that he didn't even know he had, and all the things fell right in place. But this is him, and for sure, no other caribou like this caribou.
Sure, I never seen one with it.
Yeah, that's if you're not familiar with caribou, have different antlers than any other.
Yeah.
That's so weird. Where I come right from.
Right in the middle.
Yeah.
I've seen them with this, but
That's
never
good.
one with.
These are elk here with the guns on them, different bulls. That's a bull elk mounted above the chair. If you've never seen them before, don't know what they look like, that's what they look like. These bulls here, those 2 mule deer bucks, they're just different bulls. Brother Branham doesn't speak of them, they don't have any big story behind them. Everything in here was his. The guns are all his. Most of the guns here were gifts from people that they loved him. They knew that he liked hunting and shooting. They'd buy him a rifle. There's he talks about his guns in generalities, not really specifics for the most part. He talks about them in kind of my guns, or the gun a brother gave me, or what. He doesn't speak specifically. 2 guns that Brother Branham does speak of specifically that we don't have here, and one is Blondie. Blondie is in a glass case there in Jeffersonville. My Uncle Joseph has it there. It's in a display case there. If you're over there, I'm sure you've seen it. The other gun that we don't have that he does speak about is the gun that Brother Branham's first wife, Hope, saved the money for and was telling him about when she was dying of tuberculosis in the hospital. Okay, and so that was a little 22 automatic that they had seen, and they couldn't afford it, and she was secretly saving some money and had some money in an envelope there. And so he talks about him finding the money, going and buying the gun. He went and bought the gun and used it from 1940 to 1950. In 1950, he gave it to Billy Paul. He has it today, and that's where it's at.
Has he shot these guns?
Yes, oh for sure. These are all his guns, and he shot them all. He loved shooting, he loved hunting, and he shot them all. But yeah, he had, of course, like everybody, he'd have favorites, whatever. But yeah, he shot
They
everything.
don't let you shoot and have these in front of your house here anymore.
No,
They used to.
yeah,
I wish they did.
yeah.
There's too many.
It was like getting 10 of them.
Anyways, in 1950, when Brother Branham gave that gun to Billy Paul, to replace it, he bought the gun over here on the chair. And with all the guns in here, to me, personally, this is the most significant one. This is a Winchester Model 75-22. This is the gun that Brother Branham squirrel hunted with from 1950 through 1965. This is the gun he talks about it not shooting properly and then sending it back to Winchester and arguing about how good it should shoot. This is the gun that Brother Joseph shot the 3 thumbtacks in over here at the Rod Gun Club range. This is the gun that Brother Branham shot all the squirrels that were spoken into existence with.
You're a good shot.
Occasions. It was with this
He was a
gun.
pretty good shot.
You can say that, yeah. Yeah, for sure. The chairs here are out of the den room in Jeffersonville. And you've probably seen the picture of Brother Branham in the chair with his Bible. They had the formal pictures made. That was these chairs. This is the grizzly bear that Brother Branham killed the same day as the caribou, same trip there. And that's a silver tip grizzly bear. There's 4 different varieties of brown bears in North America. And this is a silver tip. It's kind of the most famous of all of them. And this one's the most famous of all of them to me. The leopard here is from India. Brother Branham killed this particular one. The man gave him this one. The one that he killed in 1965 in Mozambique was stolen. You never seen it again. The alligator there come from a fishing trip in Florida, and it was just a little guy and come swimming by the boat. He caught him and took him home and kept him as a pet.
Oh, wow. Brought him here?
No, to Indiana there, and he kept him there, and he met kind of a untimely end, and so they had him mounted there. His name was Alfred. So,
They're not meant for Indiana.
It's probably too cold for him.
oh, right.
Wasn't he kind of undisciplined and that was the issue too, like he was getting a little out of hand, or am I remembering something different?
Yeah, they messed with him there pretty hard, and probably stressed him out.
Yeah.
You know. The mountain lion there come from here in Arizona, up by just by Payson there, right close to Payson.
Wow.
So
I didn't know they have them that
No, they
big.
get that. I've seen
the bobcats there on the limb come from a deer hunting trip up by Cortez, Colorado, and there's a little video clip of Brother Branham there with it holding it. So above it on that other limb, that's the hornet's nest that he run into with the lawnmower in the backyard there in Jeffersonville.
Oh, he kept hornets nest.
Come out after him, they spoke to him, they went back in the nest. That's the nest.
Wow. Did you just say go back in?
Hmm?
You just say go back in your nest? That's amazing. What if they're still in it?
I'm not gonna check it out.
Yeah.
Above the window there, those are 2 whitetail bucks that he shot when he's on his honeymoon there, and he's walking around in circles. They're lost in the Adirondack. And he talks about shooting a deer hanging in a tree and then heading her back to the house because it's snowing bad. And all of a sudden, there's a deer hanging in the tree again. He's making that loop-de-loop. And did that a couple times. That's one of the deer there. It's a deer that's hanging in the tree. This floor here is flagstone from up by Drake, up by Prescott there. Brother Branham and Brother Banks Woods laid this floor. The table here is one of them redwood trees from over in California. Brother Road Waters Church bought this and gave it to Brother Branham to put in here. That's what it is. The bird there is a golden eagle. This is about a 3/4 grown golden eagle, and this particular one was hit by an airplane over Porterville, California. Municipal airport and killed, and the game department confiscated it, had it mounted. It was on display there in their office in Porterville, and Brother Ben Bryant bought it and gave it to Brother Branham to put it in. And that's where it came from. That was way before the Protection Act of 1972, in case anybody here happens to be a federal agent or yeah. Over here in the pistol cabinet, I know there's a few of you, but as you get a chance, you can all come by and take a look. These are some of his handguns and knives and small things. Most of these also don't really have a big story behind them because it doesn't speak of them per se individually. The only one that would mean anything to you is this one up here with the white ribs. This is a high standard B model 22 automatic that he bought as a young man and bought himself, carried it with him his whole life. This is the gun he talks about when he walked the power lines for Indiana Public Service Company as a lineman. He would shoot rabbits and squirrels in that for people that were on his route and give them for something to eat during the Depression. This is the gun. This is also the gun when he worked as a conservation officer, as game warden for the state of Indiana. He talks about parking the truck on the side of the road and going across the field to go pray for the man. The bull was there. And he said the first thing he did was reach for his gun.
That's the gun he was holding?
He left his
He left it in the car.
truck. This is the gun. So, this is Brother Branham's Bible. He had lots of Bibles. People would give him Bible as gift, whatever. But he really only had 3 that he actually used over the course of the ministry. Brother Billy Paul has one. Brother Joseph has one. I have this one. This is his earliest Bible. This is the Bible that Brother Branham left on the pulpit at the tabernacle when the flood came through. It rose up to the ceiling, settled back down, never got wet. Sure. So anyways, that's the general overview of things. Y'all feel free to look around. If you got any questions, I'll be happy to try to answer them for you. Thank you.